So here now you have the exercises that go along with the poem vocation. Question 10a. In small groups, study the poem in text 12f and answer the following questions to feedback to the rest of the class. How would you describe the people, the kind of people that the writer envies? Now here we see that the poet, he envies people who are free, right? They're people who aren't fixed in one place, right? And they're free to do what they want. And they're not stressed by a timetable or a route that they have to follow, right? And they are in touch with nature. And of course, the last point that the narrator feels, of course, is that there's no one telling them what to do. They are doing what they want to do, and they have freedom without authority above them, someone going on telling them. Now, B, why do you think the lines are so long? Some do not fit onto the width of a page. You see that the lines are really long. So, what does it show? It shows free verse. There are not a particular number of stanzas with a particular number of words or syllables. There's no particular rhyme and meter, right? So it's all very casual and maybe like just the flow of thoughts of the poet, the narrator. So we see that the lines of the poem, they're very long, and maybe they represent like the bangle seller, the watchman, right, and the gardener. They're representing them that they have an unhurried existence, and there are no restrictions, and they can do what they want. See, what can you say about the form of the poem? Is there anything regular about it? In what senses would you call it a poem? Okay, now we see that uh, there's no rhyme scheme, right? And there are no fixed number of lines in each verse. And the poem itself, it's based on movement, right? From morning to night. We see that there's a routine there that they're talking about. The child, according to his time routine, he and the people he sees, right? And the three type of people he describes, right? And the repetition in the lines, which you see, I wish I were. You see the repetition of that line, which concludes each part, right? So, and not only that, we see many repetitions of the vocabulary. And what does this do when you have repetition? It creates a echo, which we see only in poetry. When we have that repetition, we don't see it in prose. We see it only in poetry. Okay? So, when we see this, we can identify it as a poem, right? The repetitions and the echoes that are created by the vocabulary. Okay, next we'll read the key point. I were. The usage I were is an example of a verb in the subjunctive form, which is rarely used in English. Okay, now what do we mean by subjunctive? It is usually the verb when it's used in the third person, but we use it only in very few cases, very special cases. And in this case, it's when you're wishing, or you're making a suggestion, or you're demanding something. It's not really there, okay? It's just in theory, and it doesn't have firm evidence. Like you're just supposing, it's just guesswork, okay? It shows that what is being said is not true and is just the expression of a wish or speculation. Speculation means guesswork, and when you don't have firm evidence. We also say if I were you rather than if I was you. So do not be surprised to come across this usage which exists in many languages. Okay, now the next one. Write 3 sentences beginning I wish I were, choosing jobs you are fascinated by and think you'd like to do. Look at the key point about I were you to help you. So that you can just write 3 sentences for me. Okay, that last bit of homework for me. Okay, let's see what you all are fascinated by. Which jobs fascinate you? Okay, the next two, B and C, you needn't do it. Okay, just do A for me. Okay, now we'll read the tip for writing. For activity 11B, it is for to write the poem, but we'll just read it through. You don't have to write the poem. You just have to do 11A there. Okay, writing a I wish I were poem. The poem you are writing is in free verse. That means doesn't have to be formal and form a particular rhyme and meter, as I told you, a particular number of sentences to each stanza. Although it is loosely divided into verses, they do not have a fixed form. There is no rhyme scheme, no meter, no regular number of lines. That's as I told you. The poem in text 12F does have imagery, and you should use some in your poem. Developing pictures, having a comparison. Yes? In Rabindranath Tagore's poem, the repetitions and simple vocabulary convey the idea that it is a child speaking. The present tense makes the poem seem to be a spontaneous series of reflections of something being witnessed and recorded. As the child is seeing, the child is talking and writing about what he is seeing. Notice how the poem is given a structure by the use of the changing time of day from 10 in the morning to bedtime. You can adopt this structure for your own poem if you like. Okay, so here they tell you that it has a order, one after the other, the sequence that it is forming. Okay, so that's just a tip for you there. Okay, so today, as you know, it's our last day of class. So